On this day in 1985, Jock Stein died at the end of a World Cup qualifying match in Cardiff. Scotland were drawn in qualifying Group 7 for the 1986 World Cup, along with Spain, Wales and Iceland. As a four-team group, only the winners would qualify automatically, but the runner-up would play off against the winners of the Oceania Football Confederation qualifiers, consisting at that time of Australia, New Zealand, Chinese Taipei and the various Pacific Island nations. Australian football was then nowhere near its current standard, so there was a definite feeling that reaching the play-off would all but guarantee a finals place. Stein had guided Scotland to the brink of qualification, and they had recorded a superb 3-1 win over Spain at Hampden in November 1984, but had then slumped to a 1-0 defeat to Wales at home. Scotland knew they only had to avoid defeat at Ninian Park to secure at least a playoff spot. With a goal difference advantage of 4 over Spain, a win might have won the group. Spain only defeated Iceland 2-1 in their final match, but by then they knew only a victory was needed anyway. Jock Stein was under considerable pressure after failures to qualify for the European Championships in 1980 and 1984, and his task was made no easier by the absences through injury and suspension of Alan Hansen, Graham Souness, Kenny Dalglish and Steve Archibald. Several people, including Alex Ferguson, Gordon Strachan and BBC reporter Roddy Forsyth, noted that Stein appeared unwell in the hours before the game. With players such as Neville Southall, Pat Vandenhouwe, Peter Nicholas, Ian Rush and Mark Hughes in their line-up, it was no easy task for Scotland. In a torrid first half, Wales hammered away at Scotland, almost literally in some cases, and Mark Hughes scored on 13 minutes, sweeping a low cross first time past Jim Leighton from the centre of the box. Leighton had to be replaced at half-time because he had lost a contact lens which affected his vision, and Alan Rough came on. This must have caused further strain, with one player recalling, "Stein hit the roof." No one had told him Leighton wore contact lenses, and even his assistant, Leighton's club boss Alex Ferguson, didn't know. Leighton had never told anyone, in case it jeopardised his chances of being picked. Rough revealed in an interview in the Daily Record on the 10th of September 2010, "Word came out I was on in the second half. It was mayhem. Jock was shouting about contact lenses and Fergie was shouting as well. I kept out of it and prepared myself." Scotland improved in the second half, but going into the final 10 minutes, still trailed 1-0. Then a lifeline when David Speedie tried to shoot from just inside the box and it was blocked by the hand of David Phillips. Yet another David, Cooper this time, scored from the penalty spot to spark wild celebrations with just 9 minutes remaining. As photographers gathered around the dugouts, Jock Stein was becoming agitated with one in particular who had been blocking his view throughout the match, and angry words were spoken. Just before the end, Stein mistook the referee blowing his whistle for a foul for the full-time whistle and got up and walked towards the Wales dugout to shake hands with their manager Mike England. At that moment, he collapsed and was carried, still conscious and seemingly alert, to the dressing room where he was given emergency medical treatment. Tragically, Stein then lost consciousness and, despite all efforts to revive him, was dead by 9:25 p.m. At the time it was reported that he had suffered a heart attack, but it was later revealed he had been prescribed diuretics for a heart condition, and in the days before the match had stopped taking them, fearing they were affecting his focus. A combination of poor health, the pressures of World Cup qualification and not taking the medication led to a fatal pulmonary edema. All of Scotland mourned his loss, and none more so than the Celtic support, to whom he'd given so many glorious days and nights. He'd given Scotland its self-confidence back after the disaster of Argentina 78, and the draw in Cardiff virtually guaranteed qualification to Mexico 86, and this was duly achieved with a 2-0 aggregate victory over Australia in the play-off. But the name of Jock Stein will be forever inextricably linked to Celtic, the club he took to the pinnacle of European football. It's no exaggeration to say that Celtic would not be the club we know today if not for Jock Stein. Bill Shankly never said a truer word than when he burst into the Celtic dressing room in Lisbon and shouted above the raucous celebrations, "John, you're immortal."